Hello and welcome to Fortress, Alaska. I'm Dave, your host, and today we're going to discuss the Sig Sauer M17 service pistol, which is the current semi-automatic standard sidearm issued to all branches of the U.S. military. But before we do that, let's step back in time and look what came before it in the way of semi-automatic sidearms. First was the Colt M1911. This gun is clear and safe. We can handle it. This is a single action pistol. The hammer must be cocked in order for the gun to fire. It also has a grip safety. The grip safety must be depressed for the gun to fire. And you pull the trigger and it fires. So, this was the first semi-automatic service pistol obtained by the U.S. military. It is the Colt M1911. It is in caliber 45 ACP. It served from 1911 to 1985. The U.S. government purchased about 2.7 million of these. Some are still in government service today. Its designer was John Moses Browning. It operates via the Browning tilt barrel system, which is the basis for almost all semi-automatic sidearms used today, with a very few exceptions. It is a lock breech design, which is typical for anything above 380 ACP. Generally goes to lock breech and not a blowback design. During World War I, manufacturers of this pistol included Colt, Springfield Armory, that's the government Springfield Armory, not the current Springfield Armory, Remington, and North American Arms. During World War II, Colt made these again. Remington Rand also produced them. Ithaca Gun Company made them. Union Switch and Signal made them. And the holy grail of all of them are the Singer ones made by the Sewing Machine Company. I believe they only made about 500 of them. So, it has had a long and proud service history, and I'm sure you can find lots of good videos on YouTube that can tell you all about the M1911 in much greater detail than the overview I'm giving you here today. The next standard issue semi-automatic sidearm for the U.S. military was the Beretta M9. This is the Beretta M9. It is a 9mm handgun. It is clear and safe. It, however, is double action, which means not only will it fire in single action, but one pull of the trigger will also fire it. This particular version, the same version the military had, has a decocker and a safety, which means when you pull the safety down, it decocks the gun. You push the safety up, it is ready to fire. However, it does not return to fire automatically. You must manually put it in the fire position. Decocker onlys will decock and then go right back to the fire condition. This does have a safety, and the safety will keep the gun from firing. It disables the trigger. Nothing happens when you move the trigger. So, this is the Beretta M9. It was adopted in 1985. In the finals, it beat out the Sig Sauer P320 on cost only. The Sig actually performed a little better than it, but the Beretta met all the military requirements, so it passed the test, and it came in at a better price. It officially entered service in 1990. It was produced only by Beretta. No other manufacturers provided the U.S. military with M9 sidearms. But repair parts, most notably magazines and the locking blocks, were often outsourced to other manufacturers. That caused trouble with the U.S. military. They were not genuine Beretta parts, and they did not meet the same quality standards that Beretta had. The action on this is not the Browning tilt barrel. This is one of the few exceptions. This has a locking block, much like a Walther P38. And there are plenty of videos on YouTube to show you how the locking block works. No need to go that here. This is just a brief overview. Now, there are some myths about the M9. One about the crack slide incidents when they first came out, saying they were poorly produced, poor quality control, whatever. Reality was, it was an ammo mistake. The U.S. military was using the wrong ammo, or should I say the ammo was produced poorly to the wrong standard, and it was basically they're finding proof rounds through them, and no handgun is going to survive constant use with proof rounds. They were not NATO standard rounds. Now, the poor reliability that some people have heard from this, while it is true it happened, the reason falls back once again on the U.S. government buying non-Beretta parts to maintain the guns. And that's where the issues came from. Now, like all handguns and all machines, all mechanic machines, you do have ones that will be bad and that you'll have issues with. but by and large, the Beretta 92 series is one of the most reliable and most combat-proven handguns in the world, and it is one of the best choices you can make if you want to carry a 9mm double-action sidearm for any purpose whatsoever. Now this brings us to the current sidearm, the Sig Sauer M17, the standard issue sidearm. This one is clear and safe, and this is an actual M17 USGI issued. It was one of the ones returned to Sig Sauer for reasons that Sig claims to simply be that the military wanted the controls not to be in this coyote tan color and wanted the controls all in black, as well as some other changes to the finish. That's what Sig claims. So anyways, Sig got 4,000 to 5,000 of these back, and rather than redoing them, they sold them off on the civilian market and provided the government with new sidearms. So this is an actual USGI issued M17 pistol, not the civilian variant. This replaced the Beretta M9 in 2017. We are back to the traditional Browning tilt lock system for the tilting barrel system. So far, over 200,000 have been provided to the U.S. military. There are over 1 million P320s, the civilian version of this, in the hands of the American public and police departments. This was the winner of the modular handgun system. It competed mainly with Glock in the end, and it won by price. It has been adopted by all branches of the U.S. military. The Coast Guard, however, selected Glocks. Not sure why. Might have been a cost issue. Maybe they wanted to be different. Anyways, so we will go into more detail about this and compare it. What are the differences between the actual U.S. service pistol and a standard P320 that you might go out and buy? So we'll get to that next. We'll move over to the workbench and set up to do that. Hello, now I've got it all broken down, so let's go over the differences between the civilian version and the actual military M17. Let's start with the grip modules. The grip modules are all but identical aside from color and the length of the dust cover area of the pistols. You can see the civilian P320 standard comes with a longer dust cover. Both the M17 and the M18 use this grip module. This is a full-size P320 grip module. You can get this size grip module for your P320 if you want. They are interchangeable. This particular pistol and this grip module is marked with a big green one, so I refer to it as the big green one. I am not sure where it was deployed or who had it. I have sent in a Freedom of Information request to find out more information on this pistol. So if by some glorious miracle anybody actually recognizes this particular grip module from a pistol they had or saw, please let me know. Now onto the mechanical differences of the rest of the pistol. This is the military barrel. Note all the markings on the military barrel, which is significantly different than the markings on the civilian barrel. Here's the civilian barrel. So other than that, they're identical. This is the recoil spring and guide rod for the military pistol. It is a heavier weight spring to use with 9mm NATO ammo. This is the recoil spring and guide rod for the standard P320. It is a lighter weight spring to use with standard 9mm ammo. And this continues on with the slides. The slide of the military P320 or M17 has very little material milled out of it for weight savings. It is heavier because it is handling the higher powered 9mm NATO ammo. This is a standard P320 slide. Notice this area here has more material milled out, as well as this area down here has a lot more material milled out. Those are the important differences. They've dropped the weight on this because it's not meant to handle 9mm NATO ammo. The heavier slide is designed for 9mm NATO ammo. And those are the real differences between the two, other than color. So let me get back to my regular setup and we'll close this out. I hope this has been informational so far. Okay, we're back and we're going to take one final look at the Sig Sauer M17 service pistol. Once again, this one is still clear and safe. Anyways, there's some things you should realize. This is a striker fired pistol. It has no external hammer. It has no internal hammer. It merely has a striker with a spring. It's basically a firing pin that is drawn back when the slide reciprocates. And then when you pull the trigger, it releases that striker, hitting the firing pin, thus causing the round to discharge. So it's kind of like preset with the slide, and then the trigger finishes the pull and releases it. It also has a removable plate for mounting a Delta Point Pro, which is, I believe, what the military selected. The screws of which are not visible, not accessible in the handgun. You must remove the slide, and then you can access the screws to remove this plate. I think this was simply done to keep soldiers from messing with screws they shouldn't mess with. In addition, the sights on this gun are a little bit different, as they are night sights, but they're kind of an orangish color instead of the typical green. At least the rear are orange and the front is the typical green. And I'll get some pictures in and throw those in. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that you've learned something. Please like and subscribe, share, make comments, and if you can, please join me on Patreon. I would appreciate it. I hope you have a nice day. Thank you.